So long to Normality Scene 11. Nevada, hold still. Dr. Wilson instructed. My backside was hurting worse than ever. For some reason, it hadn't hurt near this much the first time he had stitched me back together. I felt a sharp stab in pain and moaned, "Ah, bugnuts." "Hold still please," Dr. Wilson said again. "Criminally, Doc, I would if you stopped hurting me," I grumbled. Nugget got right in my face. "Does it hurt much, Nevada?" he said jokingly. "Trade you places any day," I said, gritting my teeth. Apparently Dr. Wilson wasn't in a good mood seeing how I hadn't heeded his instructions and thus he had to redo the stitches from the other night. I suspect that's why it was hurting so badly this time. He was probably trying to teach me a lesson. "Are you done yet?" I whined to the doc. "Hold still, please," Dr. Wilson said and gave my head a thump with his knuckle. "Hey! Don't break my head too," I said in protest. I know now that I should have kept my big mouth shut, but dang, it felt like he was killing me and taking his sweet time doing it too. I finally shouted, "I've seen roadkill move faster than you." Connie chimed in with, "Stop being a smart mouth small fry or I'll tell Pa on you." I bit the inside of my cheek and suffered through the last stitch. "That should do it," Dr. Wilson said. Nugget playfully asked, "Do you think things will still work back there, Doc?" Dr. Wilson make a humorous tittering sound. "Oh, well, if he doesn't settle down and stop getting himself hurt every other day," he thumped my head again, "then I'm afraid I might have to cut the whole thing off at the neck." "All right, gee whiz, you two don't got to rub it in," I said, squirming off the kitchen table and holding a towel around myself to hide my nakedness. Dr. Wilson bent down so that he was at my eye level, placed a hand on my shoulder and asked, "Would you do me one small favor?" I gave him an upraising. I then apprehensively asked, "Is it going to hurt?" "I expect it will hurt a great deal, but I think you're man enough to take this pain," Dr. Wilson stated while poking me in the chest with his finger. "Try, and I mean try with all your might not to get hurt, sick or anything else for a while." "Okay. Gee whiz, Doc, you make it sound like you don't like seeing me no more," I kidded with him. Before I could block him, he grabbed hold of my nose and wouldn't let go. "Hey! I need that for pickin'," I said, trying to pull his hand off my booger palace. "Promise me you'll try and I will let you go," he said, almost laughing. Okay, I promise." I surrendered. "No fingers, toes or eyes crossed," Dr. Wilson teased. Nugget was nearly falling over laughing, as was Connie. I wrapped both of my hands around his wrist to keep him from pulling on my nose and said, "Doc, you're going to break it off and then you will have to sew it back on too." Finally he let me go and I gave my nose a wiggle to make sure it still was in working order. Once again I opened my big mouth one too many times and said, "Gee whiz, Doc, you sure are getting grumpy as you get old." "Nevada," Connie said sternly. Dr. Wilson just laughed it off and turned his attention to Connie. "How about I check in on your mom while I'm here? From what you have told me, there was quite a bit of excitement here this morning." "More than I care for so early," was Connie's response. "Ah, do you think he go to school?" Nugget asked. "What? Oh yes, I imaged that might be a tender matter indeed." Dr. Wilson drifted off into thought before exclaiming, "I might have just the thing for you out in the car." He poked me in the nose when he said that and continued saying, "I'll get it for you before I leave." After checking on Ma, Dr. Wilson slipped out to his car and returned with 2 items. The first was some sort of clear tape and I wondered if he intended to use that to tape my mouth shut. The other item looked like a blue tire in a tube like on the tractor. He handed the tape stuff to Connie and told her, "Use this over the dressing and it should waterproof the area while it heals." I didn't really understand that right away, but later I would understand. It was Nugget that asked, "What's that?" while pointing at the blue inner tube thing. "Well, my boy, I'm glad you asked." This is one of the greatest inventions of modern science, Dr. Wilson said in true snake oil salesman regalia. What am I supposed to do with that? I asked. Why, you just blow it up using this handy-dandy nozzle right here and then. He leaned closer. This is the hardest part of all, you sit on it. Dr. Wilson said. I thought I would try to be funny. Does it come with explosives? Explosives? Nugget asked with his nose all scrunched up in confusion. Yeah, you know, to blow it up, I said. Nugget slapped himself in the forehead and laughed. Oh Nevada, that was really bad. Doc Wilson stood upright, grabbed the lapels of his suit coat and said to Nugget, Go away lil boy, you're bothering me. Can't you see I'm talking with a customer? Right then Pa, Mr. Goldberg and Bassett came back. Did you find them Pa? Connie asked. Doc, I thought that was our car I saw out there. Pa said, shaking Doc Wilson's hand. Here to check on the missus, Pa asked. Nah, had to stitch up Nuggets. Second smile again. Doc Wilson said, giving me a wink. I rubbed my bottom. Yeah, and you about killed me too. Pa was still plenty mad about Christopher, and I should have known better than to get moody when Pa was around, let alone when he was as upset as he was today. Pa snapped his fingers at me and said, You best watch that mouth, boy. Sorry Pa, sorry Doc Wilson. I quickly apologized. Nugget's Pa must have already known Doc Wilson, cause he thrust out his hand and smiled with all his purdy white teeth. Dr. Wilson. It's a pleasure as always. I was plumb aggravated when Connie shooed us all out of the kitchen. I wanted to hear what was going on, but Connie made everyone else go outside except for me. She took me upstairs to get me re-diapered. I didn't get to say goodbye to Nugget. By the time Connie was finished diapering me and putting that clear tape stuff over my stitches, Nugget, his Pa, Bassett and Doc Wilson had all left. There was also a terrible racket coming from inside the barn. I figured it was Pa and he was probably blowing off some steam. A little while after lunch I received another phone call. I had been lying on the floor of the living room reading the funny pages when Connie called for me. Small fry, you have a phone call. I got to my feet as fast as I could, but I'd been lying still so long that I got a bit stiff. That made it hurt a bit when I tried to bend my hips to get up. I went waddling into the kitchen like a drunk duck and took the phone receiver. Hello, this is Nevada. I said. Hi Nevada, it is Nugget. Hey, I didn't get to say goodbye before, and I didn't get to tell you that your dad said that it was okay for us to pick you up in the morning for school. I mean, if you think you can go. Really? That is so nice of you to do that. I said. So does that mean you will be going? Nugget asked. Yeah, sure, I guess so. I said. Okay, I got to go, cause I am at my father's work today. Since I missed so much school already today, he said I could go to work with him. I am calling you from the governor's phone right now. You are actually in the governor's office? I said in amazement. Yep. He is here too. Do you want to tell him hi? He said, and before I could say no he had already handed the phone to the governor. Hello, this is Governor Theodore Shunning. Do I have the pleasure of addressing Mr. Nevada Doctavio? My mouth suddenly went dry and I didn't know what to say, so I said, My real name is Christian Bill, I'm Doctavio, sir. Oh, please excuse me, it does appear that my personal assistant, Mr. Nugget, had informed me incorrectly. I could hear Nugget giggling in the background. That's okay, you can call me Nevada as you want. Everybody else does. I said awkwardly. Well then, I am indeed honored, and by all means please call me Ted. I don't think my pa would like me doing that. I said. Oh, how about just Mr. Shunning then? Yeah, I think that is gooder. I said. Splendid then. The governor said. Mr. Shunning, sir. I asked, can I talk to Nugget again please? Well, of course you may, but might I say that it has been a sincere pleasure speaking with you, Nugget. Not knowing what else to say, I thanked him by saying, "Thank you, sir, same to you too." "Hi, Nevada," Nugget shouted into the phone, nearly rupturing my eardrum. "Nugget, you big goof. Why did you make me talk to the governor?" I was so scared I nearly fell over dead. I growled into the phone. I could hear Nugget giggling hard on the other side. "Oh sure, laugh it up, but when I see you again. Oh boy, you just wait and see," I said, and that just made Nugget giggle louder. Finally Nugget said, "Hey, I got to go, Father wants me to make copies for him. We will be there tomorrow early, okay?" "Okay, I will be ready and waiting on the porch," I assured him. "Bye, Nevada." "Bye, see you tomorrow, Mr. Nugget," I said and giggled as I hung up the phone. I told Connie what Nugget had said about picking me up and about how I got to talk to the governor. She was impressed. I then raced in and told Ma about it, and she thought it was really neat too. I stayed in there with Ma to keep her company for a while until she went to sleep again, and then I went and got the round blue thing. It didn't take me too long to blow it up either, and I tested it on one of the kitchen chairs. Hey, that ain't so bad, but I might still be a bit sore after sitting all day, I said to no one. I hadn't realized that Connie was within earshot, so I was surprised when she said, "Well, we can double or even triple your diapers again tomorrow, and between the extra layer and that silly thing you should be just fine." The rest of the afternoon I took it easy until everyone came home from school. The first thing they asked was if Christopher had been found. The second thing they asked was where Pa was, and lastly they all asked how Ma was doing. I told them that far as I knew Christopher was still not found, that I thought Pa was in the barn or out in the fields, and that Ma was sleeping the last time I checked on her. I didn't see much of anyone after that until supper time. They all had chores and homework and whatnot to do. By the time supper was on the table, my bottom was hurting quite a bit, so I blew up my sitting tube again and sat my bottom right down on it. "Wow, Nevada, that makes you look taller when you're sitting on it," Benjamin said, measuring me with his hand from the top of my head to the side of his neck. "Hey, how the heck did you get so tall?" I asked him, knowing that there was no way that he was that much taller than I was. I looked down at his chair and saw that he was sitting on one of his legs. "That's chaotin," I complained and laughed at the same time. After supper, Benjamin, Kristen, and I went outside and around to the back of the house where we had a rope swung hung from one of the trees. It's just an old bit of rope with a bit of wood tied to the end so you can sit or stand on it to swang. As sore as my backside was, I didn't want to risk hurting myself again, so I pretty much just watched them swang. We'd been back there for a good 10 minutes when Vincent came around. I guess he was still feeling sore at me cause he weren't talking to me none at all. I don't think he has any reason to be sore at me. I ain't the one that got him into trouble, and I ain't the one that made him wear those diapers. "My turn," Vincent announced. "No way, we were here first," Kristen said and pushed him away. I was expecting a fight, but instead Vincent turned and walked away again. "Bet he's going to tell the snitch," Benjamin said with a sneer while he pumped with his legs and swung backwards. "Let him," Kristen said and gave Benjamin a big push. "Whoa, not so hard," Benjamin complained. "You got to do it hard if you want to go high," Kristen said. "I don't want to go too high." Benjamin sounded a little anxious. She pushed him again, and as he was swunging forward he came off the swang and flew through the air. At first it seemed like he was just hanging there in midair for the longest time, but then he dropped to the ground fast. He hit feet first and then fell forward in a roll before coming to a stop face down in a puddle. For a second I thought he meant to jump off the swang, but then he didn't move. "Can't you for once not goof around?" Kristen shouted at Benjamin. Benjamin didn't move. "All right, I get it, very funny. Ha ha. You can get up now," Kristen said. "Benjamin," I called out. "Benjamin," Kristen said louder and started to run toward him. I started to move toward him too and saw his left hand twitch, then his leg, then his hand again. He made a sound like he was hurt bad. Kristen fell to her knees beside Benjamin and picked his head up out of the small puddle of groundwater. Benjamin? Benjamin, are you okay? Say something, she was nearly sobbing. She rolled him onto his side. His eyes were closed and he looked to be unconscious. Benjamin. She said, taking hold of his head with both of her hands and shaking him as if she were trying to wake him from a deep slumber. Suddenly a jet of water squirted out of Benjamin's mouth and right into Kristen's face. Benjamin smiled and laughed out loud while Kristen stared at him totally shocked. I had fallen to my knees and was laughing so dang hard that I was snorting. That was not funny, Benjamin Rupert Octavio. Kristen shouted as she was whipping her face with her hands. Benjamin rolled back and forth laughing as he cheered, I gotcha both. Kristen stood up and tried to kick him, but he rolled away from her foot in time to avoid her kick. That was so dang funny. I cheered. It was not. Kristen said, stomping over to the rope swang and getting on it. You are mad, 'cause you didn't think of it first. Benjamin said, getting up and brushing himself off. So? Kristen said, trying to hide a smile. Benjamin went around behind her and started to push her. I saw that. I said to Kristen, I saw that smile. She playfully stuck her tough out at me. No thanks, I use toilet paper. I joked. No you don't. Benjamin teased. Oh yeah. I said as if I had just realized that I was wearing a diaper.